course, the day I'm going to record a vlog that talks about mostly branding, my stuff for inventory related to the things that I sell that's slightly related to my branding as like a bookish things kind of vendor at shows came in. Let's talk about how you can actually build a brand that includes slightly different things other than books. When you go to be a vendor, I'm talking like not just in-person vendor shows, but book boxes, direct sales, and more. See you in a little bit. Welcome back to another episode of Sitting Down with Soul Writer. My name is Jenna O'Malley. I am your soul writer, author of sci-fi, fantasy, of dashes of romance and nerdy references. And yes, that tagline is indeed part of my branding for a reason. And it's very fitting, like I said, that I'm going to be going through inventory with you all throughout this video while we go ahead and talk about, well, branding, the B part of the B crit process, as we're getting ready to talk about, well, franchising at large. So I did say in the previous video to this mini series, check it out here. If you did go ahead and miss it, it should be in the description box below, or I guess I actually pinned it as a card somewhere. Go ahead and check it out and then come back to this one so you can kind of understand at large what the B crit process is. Yes, I went there as in, crit, as in crit 20, as in D20 reference, as in rolling a nat 20, and not even need to confirming your process, because the process confirms itself. The B part of the B crit programming and acronyming is branding. So I, of course, do have some questions for you. There is a free journal down below if you want to go ahead and actually journal along. A lot of the times we authors talk about branding. It is the core of our business, and therefore it's the foundation of franchising, in my opinion. This talks about everything from what your colors are, your font styles, your taglines, your themes, things of that nature. We're talking like visually from like a website, newsletter, social media, cover art kind of stance. What do you include in all those visual aspects? But it also goes into actually what you write as a whole. Does Jenna write some combination of sci-fi fantasy with dashes of romance? Oh boy, do I. We're starting to get into the sci-fi stuff now. Thank you, Vitae Atlantica and season 2 of the Merna Annals. I have a whole nother series that is even more sci-fi-esque and takes it into like a third act arc for my Immortals with Magic series into like Mecha Land, so why not? I knew that was on my horizon. Eventually that I wanted to include everything I'm nerdy about. Oh, that's why there's so many nerdy references in my books. That's a tagline. What everyone can expect when they come into one of my books is some combination of some of those 4 elements. Sci-fi, fantasy, romance, nerdy references included, okay? Those are going to be the key things that come to the 5th element, me, the person who's creating it. Now, this also includes tropes. It includes genres. It also will include things like character types, tropes, genres, things you won't even ever cover in your books. Now, a lot of people, when they come into my books, are kind of surprised that I carry the weight that my books carry. I don't write fluff. That's the reason why with the rebrand, relaunch, revolution of the Merna Annals, I had to go in and add the tag dark. Because what I thought was dark was apparently way dark to a lot of people. So other questions you can go ahead and consider also are going to be things you would never include as well in your characters, in your branding, in your representation. Keep in mind, I like to reference J.R. Ward's kind of quote she did in an interview a while back. Plus or minus the taste of Coke is still Coke, not Pepsi. So plus or minus 10% of what you want your books to be is still your books, not somebody else's. So this is why themes, tropes, settings, certain things do matter. Now, if you are a multi-genre author, look at your tropes. Look at those kind of things to be what's the focus, to bind it all together. See, I really focus on the fact that all my books almost always have a found family element to them. All my books almost always have representation of not just white people, not just straight people, for a reason, because that's the life I grew up with in downtown Baltimore, comparatively in Cumberland. I've lived both sides of the rural and urban coin in that regard, so I include a reflection of what I know in my life to be true as part of my branding, as many of you probably do. This is why so many of us female authors have epically strong female characters, right? Right. But it also can be, who do you compare yourself to as like a comp author goes. I sometimes will say to people who aren't a huge knower of the indie scene that if J.R. Ward acting as like dungeon master or game master to a tabletop RPG where some of the characters are played by Martin and Tolkien, you probably would enjoy my books. And when I say that, a lot of people either go, no thank you, that's not my jam, or they're like, wait a minute, what? Because let's get real. J.R. Ward would be the DM, not Martin, not Tolkien. They would let the warden herself do that, because I would love to see her. The Brotherhood exists for a reason, and the show is amazing. Anyway, speaking of branding, what do you want people to look at your brand as being long-term? This is why I'm honest in the fact that I use dice and tabletop RPG mechanics to write my battle scenes, as much as I will go to a tarot deck and pull a card to help me when I'm stuck. This is why I teach classes on it, and I'm going to be doing so at a couple of the cons as a part of my book tour and whatnot. For a reason. It's part of that nerdiness, right? For me, it's part of that tagline still. This is also likewise why I get away with doing all these different kind of things, including like different designs on magnetic bookmarks. It's also why I include different types of keychains, including D20 keychains. You can see where I can use adjacent stuff to sell at my vendor booth as part of my book box, so on and so forth. Ultimately, branding is going to come back to you asking yourself, when someone walks up to my virtual or physical booth, what do they want to nerd out over for putting into their cart to order? A lot of my people love mugs. A lot of people that buy my stuff love dice. They get a lot of use out of magnetic bookmarks. They love keychain collecting. They love enamel pin collecting. A lot of my fans tend to be anime and gaming nerds. That's why I say that and know that about them. Because I pay attention to what my friends buy at cons, who tend to read the stuff I like while watching that stuff and being a fan of that too. This is why I think finding collaborations with people matters so much. I have a candle maker I'm going to be working with. I have a couple of 3D and resin artists I'm going to be working with as part of the Tiara book box coming out, which we're going to be sending out our first box here soon from our launch in March. We got a couple of people who are purchasing boxes, so excited. So you can see where tiny choices, and some of these choices I literally made 4 or 5 years ago. After, the spring break that never ended in March 2020 didn't end for some of us. These are tiny choices. One of the ones that, let me tell the story of the lusty strumpet. So if you want to hear the story of the lusty strumpet, continue on. Otherwise, now would be a good time for you to pull up your journal and get journaling as I'm rambling. The lusty strumpet is the name of, on the cover of book 1, Bound by Fate and Blood, the ship that's in the background. That is Neftiri's youngest female turnling, Malice. It's her husband Daniel's ship. When Daniel didn't become a vampire with Malice, we'll word it that way, she wants to go be in the beyond the veil with Danny Boy for a reason. She acquired the ship that I literally named by the suggestion of a fantasy name generator that stuck. I wanted a bombastic, flamboyant name for a ship. That popped up, and the first line out of Malice's mouth in my head was, "She took on so much water, just like a lusty strumpet." Thanks, Malice. Now you can see where that can become a branding thing. Bombastic. It's Malice's persona. So you can see where you can make those tiny little nuanced choices, even in wording. And now people want lusty strumpet merch. A bar that Frey opens in Baltimore in season 2 is getting merch, Frey's Flask, because of one spin-off story. Tiny things built into your branding over time. Why not make it a franchise? Next time, now that we've rambled a little bit, we're going to talk about the crit, specifically the C, the control part of the rest of the process. See you next week.